everyone, I'm Natasha and thank you so much for joining me. Today's class is going to be a lot of fun. We are going to be looking at the feet, the toes, the ankles, and a bit up into the calves to really help work on your foot flexibility and mobility. And a lot of these movements will also help you if you are experiencing flattened falling arches. So a lot of times if you have fallen arches, it can relate to tightness in the hips, but the body is all these interconnected kinetic chains. So an issue one place can manifest itself somewhere else. So it's hard to say if you have tight hips and poor ankle mobility and fallen arches, which one exactly is the cause? Are they all contributing factors? It's really good to address all of these things, not just to say, oh, my hips are tight and my feet are flat, so if I fix my hips, it's going to fix my feet. It'll help. But looking at your body holistically and nurturing your body, mind, and spirit is going to give you the greatest results. So today we are going to be looking at things you can do both as a yoga practice to improve your toe, foot, ankle, and also calf mobility. And I'll also be giving you some tips on things that you can do on a regular basis to see improvement with your ankle mobility and with your arches. So a lot of what happens is there's all these little muscles in your feet. And when you're a kid, maybe you ran around barefoot, leaping and jumping and playing, and these muscles are nice and strong. But then with time and as you wear shoes, and actually as you wear shoes with high arch support, then your foot doesn't have to do that work anymore. And so those muscles begin to weaken, just like they would anywhere on your body. And also you kind of stop controlling all of those little nerves, all those neurons there. So by working with your feet, you not only strengthen the muscles, increase flexibility, but you also reconnect those neural pathways and remind your brain and your foot that you can do all kinds of things with your foot that you just don't remember you can do. So anyway, I hope that you enjoy this practice and can really carry these movements into your daily practice to see improvement in your feet. Sorry about that loud noise out there. So anyway, so to begin with, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Let's come on up to standing. And you can stand at the top of your mat. I'm just going to stay right here, feet about hips width apart. Really think about grounding down into your feet here. And maybe take a moment to rock back and forth a little bit, feeling all corners of both feet. Just beginning to wake up the feet. And bring your hands together. Tuck your tailbone slightly, so you don't want to be like this. Tuck your tailbone slightly, but not there either. Just a little tuck, a little firmness in the core. Hands to heart center, chest rising to meet the thumbs. Shoulders relaxed. Take a moment here to feel your feet, to feel them grounding down into your mat. And take a moment to appreciate your feet. So much of the time we complain about our feet, we dislike our feet. Send them love. Think of all the things in your life that wouldn't be possible without your feet. Express gratitude to your feet. And let them know that for the next few minutes, you're going to be sending them the love they deserve. Right. So inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. You can bend the knees if you need to relieve tension in the lower back. Here again, take a moment to just sort of rock back and forth on your feet. Don't fall over, but move around. Wake up your feet. Inhale, halfway lift, nice long neck as your gaze is down. Exhale, folding forward again. Inhale, stepping your feet back to plank. Here, make sure to keep this active and pressing away from the mat. So not here, not here. Actively pressing away, and then drop your knees so that they are underneath your hips. If you can, I encourage you to place the tops of your feet on the mat. You may find that you're here. That is fine. Don't just give in and go there. Work on it. Reach for this, and with time, your feet will come down more and more onto the mat. Inhale, extend the right leg back, and here tuck the toes. And we're going to gently press forward and back, waking up the ankle, waking up the calf. In these movements, you should never feel pain. If you have actual pain in your foot, particularly towards your heel, then you should go visit your doctor to check for a condition like plantar fasciitis. All right, your shoulders may be a little tired, so we can come back here into a child's pose for a moment. Arms reaching behind. Let your shoulders relax. All right, let's come back up to the tabletop plank. This time, inhale the left foot out, and we're going to rock it back and forth again. Whenever you're doing movements like this, it's important to move slowly. You never want to bounce in a stretch. So just take your time. All right, great. Now let's come on through to sitting, legs extended. Activate your legs. Be careful not to hyperextend your knees, but do keep your legs active. And we're going to flex the feet. And then point them as much as you can. And then flex and point. So these actually have names other than pointing and flexing. This is your plantar flexion, and this is your dorsiflexion. This looks simple, but it can be challenging. And as you're here, try to stay nice and sitting up, not here. This will help you work on your hips at the same time. If you find that maintaining this upright position is difficult for you, please go ahead and grab something to sit up on until you can keep this lower portion of your back fairly flat instead of hunched over. Now we're going to work the toes a little bit more. You can bring the feet in if you'd like. You can sit up on a chair. You can just cross your leg over like this. But just go ahead and hold onto your feet and really work on crunching the toes and then opening them up. Crunching and opening, but without really moving the rest of your foot. This may be difficult as well, and this is something that you can do on a daily basis. I would aim for about 3 sets of 10 repetitions to start with on each side. This also helps reestablish those neural pathways, remind your brain, remind your foot that it can control all of this. Let's swap to the other side here. Again, you can do this sitting on a chair if you'd like. let's come back to sitting here with feet extended. And now we're going to work a bit more on that dorsiflexion, bending towards us, that flexing motion. So you can grab a strap, you can grab a towel and loop it around, or you may be able to, if your hips and hamstrings are fairly open, reach forward and grab onto your foot. But I'll just go ahead and demonstrate with a strap. Place it around your foot, not on your toes, but not too far down either, sort of across the ball of your foot, and gently pull. Make sure you don't let your ankle come up off the ground like that. That's not what we're going for. So, heel on the floor, and gently pull. You should not feel any pain. If you feel pain, then ease out of it. Let's relax for a moment. And do that again. As always, try not to slouch, try not to let your shoulders hold lots of tension, try to sit up nice and tall, shoulders relaxed, down and away from the ears. All right, great. Now let's switch over to the opposite side here on my left foot. Sitting nice and tall, shoulders relaxed, gently pulling. Heel stays on the floor, no pain. Let's release for a moment, regrip, and come back into it. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is something that you can also do on a regular basis. This is not actually a resistance band, but I'm going to use it. So if you have a resistance band, either the kind like a big rubber band, or you can also use the tubing kind with the handles. This is really helpful, and you can do it either for plantar flexion or dorsiflexion. So you do the same thing we just did here, and if you don't have a band, you can just try with the strap or go back to what we were just doing. But what you do is you put the band around the ball of your foot again, and then you give it some tension, not so much that it's impossible, but some decent tension, and then press against it. So this works on strengthening those foot muscles. And of course, you can always give it more pull if you need to, if you want more resistance, or less if you need less resistance. So something else, you can work on doing 3 sets of 10 per side on a regular basis, and it's going to help you out. Coming on over to the left side. Again, if you don't have a resistance band, you can just work this motion by itself, or you can go back to what we were just doing with the strap or towel. I don't have a way to demonstrate it here, but you can also work this sort of the opposite way. So particularly if you have one of those big rubber band style resistance bands, what you do is you come to a chair, a table, something with a bit of weight to it, and you'll loop the band, the rubber band around, and then you'll actually want your foot to be like this. So this is why it doesn't work as well. I could tie a knot, but it works better with big rubber band style. And then you'll work against the band. So tension on it that way, and practicing that dorsiflexion towards you there with that resistance. So that's another helpful thing that you can do if you have the right kind of resistance band or can tie a knot in your band. Right, let me get this out of the way. All right, so our feet should be getting nice and warmed up, so maybe we're ready for something a little more challenging. So let's come back on up to standing. And for this, you will need a wall, or a pillar could work too, a post, something like that. It's another great one to do on a regular basis. So come close to your wall, close enough that you can put your hands on the wall, so you don't have to be out here, but you also don't have to be squished. So just somewhere comfortable, a foot, 18 inches away from the wall. Let's step the right foot forward, trying not to let the knee come forward of the ankle. Left foot back, keeping the knee straight for now, hips towards the wall, and press the hips towards the wall. So you may have done this before in gym class or at the gym. So basically here, but you can use a wall for stability. If you don't have a wall, you don't have to, but the wall is nice. Keeping the hips shining forward, keeping the back heel on the floor, and trying not to bend this knee. If you don't have a wall, here's fine, just maybe a little tricky around the balance. You may need to adjust your stance a little bit. Sometimes shortening it can help some. But from here, we're now going to slowly bend that back knee, keeping the heel on the floor, and straighten. Bend and straighten. If this is difficult for you, and you have a friend, roommate, partner, someone who can help you out, you can have them hold on to your heel to help you keep it down instead of letting it pop up like that. All right, now we're going to go the other side. So right foot back, again, you can be against the wall and you'll move your hips towards the wall. Trying to keep your hips square, so not opening out like this, but square towards the front, shining forward. You should feel this one in the ankle and also up into the calf, particularly if you're resisting against the wall. Now let's bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. And you can always play around with your foot position if you find that being here, a lot of times having a narrower stance will help you be able to bend more. Or if that's too easy, then you can widen your stance. Just try to keep this knee over top of the front ankle or a little bit behind, but no, like, oh, that's no good. Right, feet coming back together, we're going to have a little bit of a brain teaser here. So let's just start actually by just lifting the toes and releasing. Lifting and releasing. And try if you can to keep that nice upright posture, light tuck in the tailbone. And then we're going to move on to the tricky bit. So you may actually want to sit down if this is your first time trying this, and help with your hands. So what I want you to do is lift your big toes, but try to keep your the rest of your toes on the mat. And you might need to kind of till they get the picture. So if you can do this while standing, that is excellent. If you can't, no worries. Come to seated, you can sit in a chair and just work with it. I'm going to try to hold it here for a few breaths. Yes, you can work out your feet just like every other part of your body. All right, let's release. Now we're going to do the opposite. I think this one's even trickier. So keep the big toes down and lift the other toes as high as you can off the mat. And if they get splayed out a little, that is fine. And if you need to keep your finger on your toe, that's fine. We're going to do that again. We're just going to come to standing. So trying to lift the big toes, keeping the rest of the toes down. And if you can, try to keep that nice upright posture, slightly tucked, shoulders down. And if you're feeling adventurous, maybe try bringing your hands to heart center. Excellent. Release, and then the other way. So big toes on the mat, other toes lifting up. Working on that several times a day is another thing that can really help you out with fallen arches and working on your foot strength and mobility. Now for a fun one, another great one to do on a regular basis. Just grab yourself like a little hand towel, toss it down, and put one foot in the middle of the towel and scrunch it up with your toes and release. Scrunch and release. Scrunch and release. This is another good thing to do, about 30 reps a side, if you really want to strengthen your foot. We're not going to do 30 right now though, don't worry. But this is something that you can easily do while you're sitting at home on the computer, watching TV. Very easy to do. We're going to swap sides, so left foot here in the center of the towel, scrunch it up, and release. And as you do this, think about grounding through that standing leg. Maintain your good posture. All right, another fun one here that can also help with your hips at the same time. So I'm going to pick the towel up. You can also do this with a smaller item like a sock or even a marble or something like that, a toy. Just make sure it isn't too pointy and stabs you. Okay? So pick up the towel and drop it over on the left side of your mat. Then pick up your towel and drop it over on the right side of your mat. So this also works your balance and your hips a bit. If you find that this is too difficult for you right now, that is fine. Move it whatever distance works for you at this moment. So if you need to go here, that's fine. You could also do this while seated in a chair. Takes out some of the complication from the balance, but working your balance in that standing leg also helps strengthen your foot. Let's just do one more. Okay. Now we're going to move on to a few more challenging things, now that your feet are nice and warmed up. So, stand with your feet about hips width apart, send your hips back while keeping your chest up, and lower yourself into a squat, wherever the bottom of that squat is for you. Now, stay here if you need to. It's great for working on your ankle and hip flexibility. But I'm going to lift up onto my toes, kind of like a leapfroggy type position. And if you need to, you can actually grab blocks. If you're a little bit higher up than me, to help you stabilize. You can put your hands on those blocks. Okay, release and up. All right, now this one is even a little bit trickier still. So you can always do that first variation, or you can keep your legs and feet close together. So if you do this, stand like you normally would in Tadasana, sending your hips back and lifting up onto your toes, keeping your chest lifted. I know this one's quite challenging, so if it's not working for you today, don't feel bad. Just consider it a goal to work towards. Okay, and release to seated. Now we're going to work on a couple of seated things, working towards a hero pose. So come into your thunderbolt position. Here, you might know it as Seiza if you've ever done martial arts. And if you can't sit all the way down, don't worry, just hang on a second, I'll be right with you. So from here, we want to tuck the toes and sit back, if you can. If this causes too much tension, if you're not able to send your hips all the way back to meet your feet, all you need to do is come to a kneeling type position with your toes tucked. I'm going to bring my hands to heart center here. Take this moment to reconnect to your feet. And release. Now that is also a great thing that you can work on while watching TV, for example. You can sit on the floor and work on that and get some great flexibility, mobility in while you're doing something else, if it's just very difficult for you to find a half-hour block of time in your schedule otherwise. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to work on is probably the most intense. It's going into a hero pose. And especially if you're still working on your hips, your hamstrings, this can be tricky. So if that sounds like you, please grab a block, grab a pillow, something like that. The ultimate goal is to send your knees about in line with your hips, so not super tight, so knees about in line with the hips, ankles just outside the hips, and settling down to sit between your feet. But this is quite difficult. So if you feel tension in your knees and your hips and your hamstrings, all you need to do is grab something and sit up until it is comfortable for you. Then from here, wherever you are, this is great even by itself, but you're going to give yourself a massage. Show your feet some love. So taking your thumbs, massage your feet, particularly that arch area. This pose not only allows you to work on your foot and ankle flexibility and massage your feet, it's also great for your hips. And it's something that, once again, you can incorporate into your daily routine. You can sit like this if you want to, or some variation of it. Once again, while you're watching TV, playing with your phone. I have a daily morning yoga practice. I like to call it yoga to work. I work from home, but I take at least 15, usually closer to 30 or 40 minutes after breakfast before really getting into work for the day to do a yoga practice. And that's wonderful, and I encourage everyone to have a daily yoga practice. But if you really want to see results for your feet and for your arches, for your ankles, it does require work, probably several days a week for several weeks, realistically. And so if you can find ways to build these movements into your everyday life, then it'll be a lot easier for you to stick with them and to see results. If sitting in this version of hero pose is comfortable for you, you can also take it to reclining. If this is not working for you, that is absolutely fine. Wherever you are, send the feet back out, and then we're just going to recline down into an active rest position. So knees stay bent, going up towards the ceiling, feet on the floor, hands can rest on your hip points, and just take a moment here to really absorb the benefits of this practice, to relax fully, and to once again send love and gratitude to your feet. When you're ready, slowly, carefully roll over to one side. And then slowly press yourself back up to seated. Namaste. I really hope that you enjoyed this practice, yoga for your feet, for your toes. I know it's been a little bit different from a lot of my other videos, but I really hope that you enjoy it. And I know that if you practice these movements several times a week, you will begin to see improvements in your foot and ankle flexibility. It can help with fallen arches and also help you start to work into your hips as well as you lose the tightness in the lower legs. So thanks so much for watching. Keep the comments coming. Let me know if there's other things you would like to see, other areas you'd like to address. If you'd like to see even more toe and foot yoga, I have other pose ideas as well. So please let me know. Thanks again so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.